Hello. In this video, we're going to look for two-sample t-test using IB final exam style question. And here is our question where we have two samples. One sample is students who drank coffee measuring reaction times in milliseconds. And we compare that to the group of students who did not drink coffee. And here are the reaction times for those as well. So we can see question here that is there a significant difference in average reaction time between students who drank coffee and students who did not? And here are typical questions that follows two-sample t-test. Writing down null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, p-value, and then using p-value to make a conclusion. So let's go into our calculator. Before going into calculator, let's look at the null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis first. Null hypothesis is basically every time the same way in two-sample t-test because we are looking for the mean values and comparing the mean values for students who drank coffee and students who didn't drink coffee. So our null hypothesis is that there is no difference in mean reaction times between students who drank coffee and who did not. You can also answer using this mu notation over here, but you have to be, you couldn't use mu0 equals mu1 or something like that unless you explain in your question what your notation means. But here, if I use like this, mean value coffee equals mean value no coffee, so this is understandable notation. Of course, being safe is to write down the null hypothesis in words, and that way it will definitely will go correctly. Now, alternative hypothesis depends on what we are investigating, and now in the question we can see up here that is there difference in average reaction times. So we are not investigating whether or not mean value is smaller or greater, but now we are looking for is there a difference? And that will be our alternative hypothesis. So our alternative hypothesis is that mean values for reaction time, students who drink coffee is different than students who did not drink coffee. Now let's go into calculator to find p-value, and then we can do conclusion. Here we have two lists of numbers. So two-sample t-test, you will open the list and spreadsheet page down here, this green icon. So opening that, and before entering the numbers, name those columns so that you understand which one is which. So coffee and no coffee, that's a good way to make sure that you understand later in using calculator, you understand which one is which. And then we just enter numbers for each columns. And after I've done all the numbers in both of the columns, I would definitely go through the numbers one more time, making sure there is no mistakes in your typing the numbers, and numbers are correct here. Then you will choose empty cell somewhere here in the list and spreadsheet. So empty cell, and then you press menu. From here you find statistics, statistical tests, and we have two-sample t-test. Input method is data, since data is given in a question. We press OK. Another alternative is stats. So if there would be a question which gives you sample mean value and sample standard deviation values right away in a question, you would use this stats. But data is more likely to happen. Then list number 1 is coffee, list number 2 is no coffee. Frequencies are 1. And then there is this alternative hypothesis, and that depends on the question, what we are trying to investigate. Now, there was that, is there a difference between these mean values? So we will choose this one in the middle. This is called two-tailed alternative hypothesis. So that's what we will choose. But you would have to be careful here that you will choose the proper one. It depends on the question. So now we choose this one. And then there is this extra question about pooled, and you always answer yes here in IB final exams. And you could remember this way. Do you want to go swimming in a pool? Sure, yes, we want to go swimming in a pool. So you answer always yes into that section. Briefly mentioning what it means that we assume that variance for both of those samples is equal, and therefore we will choose yes, but that's done every time. Then we press OK, and here are our p-value, what we are looking for, and now we can use p-value to make the final conclusion. Now you can a little bit maybe pause the video and think, what will be our conclusion if p-value is 0.0108 when level of significance is 0.05? Looking back at our question, we can see the level of significance being 5%. Find the p-value for this test, write down conclusion, and give a reason to your answer. So this is how you conclude the question when we have p-value. So p-value we can see from our calculator being 0.01082 and so on. So we just give our p-value, then we round it up with 3 significant figures. So 0.0, those 2 zeros are not significant in front of the decimal number, but 108, there is 3 significant figures. So that's our p-value. Then we compare that p-value into the given level of significance. And since p-value is less than 0.05, our conclusion will be that we have enough evidence to reject null hypothesis. And so we go by the alternative hypothesis, which is saying that those mean values for reaction times for students who drank coffee and who did not is different. Now, if we would like to answer further that whether the mean value is greater or smaller, we could look at the mean values given also here in our calculator. So if I go down here in the calculator, you can see that there is a mean value for group number 1, and there is a mean value for group number 2. And of course, you would have to know which one is which. In our case, group number 1 was students who drank coffee, and group number 2 was students who did not drink coffee. So we could have an extra step saying that student who drank coffee, the mean reaction time is smaller than students who did not drink coffee, based on the data given in a question. Now, this is a 2-sample t-test. This is how you answer, and this is how you do work with the calculator. And make sure you practice this one. You can practice the same question, pause the video in the beginning and trying to do it yourself. Doing it number of times will give you confidence that yes, I can do this. So this was our video this time. See you in the next video. Bye.